Welcome to Organizational Behavior and to Chapter 1. The study of organizational behavior is about individuals, groups, and organizations. You're going to be hearing this a lot throughout the term, individuals, groups, and organizations. OB is based on research contributions from behavioral science, psychology, sociology, cultural anthropology, and political science. We study the individual and groups in order to understand how to positively impact organizational effectiveness. The three learning objectives that we will be focusing on in this chapter are the following. One is looking at organization behavior and defining what it is, explaining why we study OB and the benefits towards that. And third is what is the relevance of OB in the workplace? And we'll look at areas like diversity and globalization as examples. What is organizational behavior? Organizational behavior is the field of study that investigates the individual, the groups, and organizations and how they work together as interdependent systems. It's also the combination of both the individual and the group in the organizational context so we can develop a better understanding of the workplace, especially when managing people. Management is the process of working with and through others to achieve organizational objectives in an efficient and ethical manner. Effective managers are team players empowered by willing and active support of others who are driven by conflicting self-interests. So the question is, well, why should we study organizational behavior? There are many reasons. The following are some of the reasons. Let's take a look. Organizational behavior provides the foundation for the steps to promote on-the-job satisfaction, leading to greater productivity. Organizational behavior helps us understand organizational policy and procedure reinforcement. As well, organizational behavior helps us understand why people behave the way they do, and this could help us to become more effective leaders and managers. Human relationship movement began in the 30s and gathered momentum during the 50s, when the focus shifted to the powerful effect that individual needs, supportive supervision, and group dynamics had on job performance. The Industrial Revolution that started with the creation of large factories in the 18th century contributed to a change in the production of textiles and other products. Frederick Taylor created scientific management that used research to determine the best degree of specialization and standardization of work tasks. Core elements of this management still remain today. Look at the call center work environments or manufacturing environments. They are very much production based. The human relationship movement relies on motivating job performance. The writings of Mayo and Follett were essential to the human relationship movement. One thing we need to consider as future managers is that we need to understand as managers that we need to apply the contingency approach to these situations, which calls for using management concepts and techniques in a manner that is appropriate for the situation instead of relying on one best way approach to management. Staying on the topic of organizational behavior theory and development, we also need to look at McGregor's theory of theory X and theory Y. There's an excellent video that you'll watch after this one that will explain the two theories and how they work. Look at e-business and the internet. There are many implications when managing people at work. Each of these will be covered in more detail in future chapters. But just to give you a quick overview, it affects decision making, which is something we cover in Chapter 6. It affects conflict and stress, which is something we cover in Chapter 5 and 9. It also affects change and resistance to change, which is something we will cover in Chapter 13. And obviously it affects ethics, especially in this internet age, and that we'll cover in Chapter 6. The world is becoming a single huge marketplace. Managers from North America are challenged by the need to effectively manage people from all around the world. So how does globalization and organizational behavior affect each other? Well, globalization refers to the extension of business operations to markets around the globe. When we are exporting or importing human capital, that can cause many changes for individuals and organizations. And as human capital moves from organization to organization or from country to country, that adds a larger challenge for us and brings in more diversity. So any misunderstandings can cause conflict or stress in the workplace, things that we need to consider when managing people. Workforce diversity and diversity management is a key social issue facing organizations today. Diversity represents the multitude of individual differences and similarities that exist among people. So diversity management involves engaging individuals in activities aimed at managing individual differences, enabling maximum potential. And in organizational behavior, we're always looking to maximize the effectiveness of the outcome that we want to get through the work of people. Textbook figure 1.3 illustrates very clearly the 4 layers of diversity. It starts in the middle where we look at one's personality, which is the center of this diversity wheel, because it represents a stable set of characteristics that is responsible for a person's identity. Move through the diagram on figure 1.3, starting in the middle with personality. Take a moment and think about how your personality, which is a set of stable characteristics, how that is responsible, how you are responsible for creating your personal identity. And then we'll work outward from there. The next layer of diversity, as per our figure 1.3, is internal dimensions. And this refers to the primary dimensions of diversity, which are not, for the most part, within our control, but strongly influence our attitudes and expectations and assumptions about others, which in turn impact our behavioral age, gender, sexual orientation, ethnicity, and physical ability. External dimensions are referred to as secondary dimensions of diversity and represent individual differences that we have a greater ability to influence or control, such as marital status, appearance, religion, education, background, income, and work experience. The final circle in figure 1.3 is organizational dimensions, which include management status, union affiliation, work location, seniority, and work content. Managing diversity involves policies, activities, and organizational changes aimed at managing individual differences in order to enable all people to perform up to their maximum potential. Many companies are unsure what it takes to manage diversity effectively. There are 3 main types of diversity management practices, which are summarized in Table 1.3 in your textbook. Let's take a quick look at them. One is accountability practices, which focuses on treating diverse employees fairly. 2 is development practices, which focuses on preparing diverse employees for greater responsibility and advancement. And the third one is recruitment practices, which attempt to attract qualified, diverse employees at all levels of an organization. Have you ever traveled to a new country or started a new job? What's the first thing you do? Chances are you start observing what people do, how they behave, and from that, with the information that you have, you try to piece it together to understand the culture of that organization or that country. Organizational behavior is not far from that example. By studying diversity, globalization, and how the internet has effect on people and their performance, organizational behavior helps us understand how individuals, groups behave and function in the context of an organization. So wrapping up this video, make sure you take a few moments to review your notes and get prepared for the upcoming test. At the end of every video that we create to cover the content of the material in the chapter, you will get a short test, usually 5 questions, that you could answer and get instant feedback to see how you did. This will prepare you to understand the basic concepts before you come to class so we could start applying these principles into action and deepen the learning so you walk out of class well prepared for the upcoming tests, quizzes, and exams. Good luck. See you in class.